Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be doing college football predictions for week 2. Now there's probably a couple reasons why I'm doing this right now, and one is because I want to discuss a little bit about what's been happening recently that has to do with football, and also I want to kind of you know talk about my week 1 picks. Now, of course, I really did feel like I had to do a week 2, just so people would recognize that I might be doing a series of this. But I want you guys to know that I may not necessarily continue after week 2, because I'm really just doing this because really week 2 seems like it's going to be very interesting, and also I want to talk about some very weird events that have been happening as of recent that have to do with, of course, geography and football, because football is played in different parts of the country, so you gotta watch out there. And also, I really do want to continue this series, predict all the way up, but at the same time, I really don't, because, you guys would. This is a gaming channel, and I know you guys would preferably probably see me play a video game rather than predict football scores. But I did get on my Super Bowl predictions on my NFL, full season playoff and Super Bowl predictions, like the whole season, 20 freaking games, 20 different weeks of games, you know, I got almost 3K views for that, and that's the most amount of views I've probably had on a video in 27. You know, overall the past 2 years, that's probably the most views I've gotten on any video. My most viewed video since probably what, like freaking, I'm gonna say September of 2015. It was late 2015. I remember that. That was the last time I had a video that got over 1K views, and that video is almost at 3K. Now it's not unbelievable because I've had videos reach up to over 50K. Now in my eyes, 100K in one video is like insane, but 3K, kind of small, kind of it's kind of just like a school, kind of, big school. That's what it's like. But we don't need to be talking about this. We need to talk about college football. So, if you guys don't know what's been going on recently, down in Florida, I hope you all know that, for all of you here living in the United States, but you probably shouldn't be watching this if you don't. But, I mean, if you're still a fan of the sport, please just listen up. So, there have been many hurricanes that have happened as of recently. And, recently, smaller islands in the Caribbean have been hit by a hurricane called Hurricane Irma. Now, I know most of you know what this is. Hurricane Irma is one of the biggest hurricanes of all time. It's probably worse than like Hurricane Katrina, which happened like right when YouTube began. Like, I think it was a few months after it began, like later that year, 2005. Like, Hurricane Katrina just hit us all. And I think I remember hearing about it too when it did happen. Hurricane Katrina was a very big event in many people's eyes. And Hurricane Irma is supposed to be really big. Like, it's supposed to affect the whole state of Florida, guys. Like, the whole freaking state. So, as we all know, Florida usually gets hit by a hurricane every year. This year, it's just like the the east side of Florida, and usually the southern tip will get it too, like Miami. But this year there's a hurricane so big it might even affect like states like Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina. Guys, this hurricane is gonna be insane. It hits tomorrow. Now I meant to do this video yesterday on Thursday, but you see, the recording went bad. I was recording for about 15 minutes before it stopped. It made me really angry because I was probably through 10 of these already. But I don't want to be here for too long though. But because of Hurricane Irma, it's going to affect a lot of things that happen in Florida. So every Florida team that's playing college football this weekend that was supposed to be playing, all of their games got canceled. And, there's another hurricane coming on the way, which will probably hit very soon after that. There's Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Jose. There's going to be two hurricanes that come toward Florida, and both of them are going to hit, and obviously the Caribbean areas as well. So I think they're going to have to find some way to reschedule these games because they can't be missing too many games. They gotta play some of them. Come on. I mean, you can't have a team that's only played 10 games. That's unfair to these Florida teams, man. Because, I mean, I think the only team... that all of the Florida teams that have canceled games, they're all ranked. I didn't even think about that, guys. Yeah, they're all ranked and they're not going to get to play. And, it may affect if they reach the playoffs or a big bowl game or not. This will affect them, especially South Florida, because South Florida is going to have a real hard time getting to the college football playoff. But, I think South Florida kind of got off the hook, though, because I think if they don't have a rescheduled date to play UConn, I think Southern Florida is going to finish undefeated. That might be a good thing, but of course it's one less win, or that's one less game that they could have a potential to win that won't go on their resume. But, it will save South Florida from being unranked. But if they lose to UConn, I really think that's their only loss, and it really just comes in an upset in my opinion. But I think South Florida could also come out away undefeated. And also, guys, there was New England and Kansas City yesterday. Let's just say there's one game I already got incorrect. Kansas City kicked their ass. Like 15 points. That is probably the worst score I have seen New England have at home. That's the worst score I've seen New England get beaten by at home. 15 points. Now, the most I've known it to be, as of recent, was probably about 7 points, which was against Seattle. Wait, no, maybe Buffalo, because, Buffalo beat them 16-0 at New England, I think. But the thing was, though, Buffalo got an advantage because, Jimmy Garoppolo was the starting quarterback, and the thing was, just a few days before that game happened, I called the upset. I changed my pick to Buffalo before that game happened, and it just so happens I came out correct on that one. So that was a sudden change. I was going to get that game wrong, but, I decided to call Buffalo since Arizona had not beaten them, which I thought they would. They had not. And, I feel just how that game went, I feel New England's not going to have a Super Bowl winning season. So, just like I predicted, guys, New England will probably not go. Now, you guys are probably thinking, well, you still have them in the... Well, yeah, I do have them in the playoffs as the number 3 seed. I don't have them with a bye week this year. I just don't think Tom Brady has enough energy as a 40-year-old to get them all the way to the Super Bowl. I doubt it happens, but maybe he might. I don't know. So anyway, guys, at this point... Okay, sorry about that. At this point, you guys are probably thinking, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you predicting this after a game already happened? Well, like I said, I tried to make this video yesterday, but the recording failed about 15 minutes in after I've done about 10 predictions already. So then I did it late at night, so I just felt tired, and I couldn't do it, guys. I really could not retry the recording. I wanted to, but my energy wouldn't let me. I just didn't feel like it. So now I'm here today. You are guaranteed to see this video. And you might not be seeing another one next week, though. Depends on how much support overall I get on the 2 videos I've made, including this one. So, our first matchup here was yesterday, where Utah State comes up on top 51-13. Now, I actually did predict Utah State before this game happened, but you guys won't believe me because I made this video too late. Basically, if you guys are smart enough to know, Idaho State is like a freaking FCS team. Utah State is Mountain West. That's a group of 5 conference. So I would hope most of you are smart enough to think in your heads that it would be pretty obvious. Even though they got destroyed by Wisconsin, Idaho State is just an FCS opponent. That's it. That Idaho State didn't have any chance. Plus, Utah State, as we all know, did actually do very well. I think what made Utah State struggle in that game was the fact that Wisconsin has a very good breakout offense. And, Utah State for the longest time was holding them off, but then they just got tired of doing it. And, the defense was starting to wear down. But what I think would have helped Utah State possibly come out with an upset is they had so many opportunities in the first half when they could have scored, but they didn't. Like, Utah State just ended up losing because they just let their defense wear away instead of scoring points every time they did on. I mean, come on. I could have at least saw 24 points in that first half. But really, it was either that their offense was just starting to wear down along with their defense, or Wisconsin's defense was starting to step up. But we can tell their defense just couldn't take it no more and couldn't hold them, and Wisconsin started to pull away. So, I really don't think Utah State is a horrible team, but I don't think, though, when it comes down to those teams like Boise State and San Diego State and like freaking Colorado State, I don't think they'll be good enough to win those games, but maybe just enough if they have it at home. So Utah State comes out away. Utah State comes away with that one, 51-13. That was one I got right, but I'm gonna add 1 to my total record. But if you guys don't know, I missed about 10 games last week because the system was about to lag out because I was recording for over an hour. So there you guys go. And I'm sorry I didn't predict the whole schedule last week. Missed 10 games. But I'm going to let you guys know my final record was 84-11. And I'll tell you right now, there were some incredible games that, could have added more losses to that. But, ended up not becoming that way. Like, for an example, was UCLA. They had an amazing performance. And when we get to their game, I'll tell you guys about how that happened. But I would hope most of you in the college football universe already know what happened with that game. But let's just say it was incredible. UCLA did end up winning that game. But that was great. But anyway, guys, my final week 1 record, there was actually a game or two that got canceled last week, though. It was like Houston and San Antonio, I know, got canceled. I think there was another one, too. But I believe at that point, Houston was winning and the other team I predicted was winning. So that's just 1 or 2 games that I can't add to the list. I can't have 85 or 86 correct because those 2 games got canceled because of Hurricane Harvey. And now there's Hurricane whatever the frick it is, Hurricane Irma. It's canceled many games because there's a lot of Florida teams. And pretty much any team that plays in Florida is not going to be playing. So, sucks. But anyway, my final record last week was 84-11. 85-11 in total because Utah State won last night. And I'm going to hit 100 freaking correct, like, probably before 3:30 tomorrow. I'm going to guess before 3:30 my record will be at 100. I will have 100 correct. Now, I'm going to say the easiest weeks to predict are the first 4 because most teams get cupcake games. And you're going to predict the higher ranked team, obviously. But sometimes there's upsets. And, I'm going to guess about 6 of the ones I got wrong I called as upsets. And, came out as right. And I think there were 5 games that I just plain got wrong because, because the other team had more skill or maybe, yeah. So, no more time to talk about that. Let's talk about the games that are happening tonight. There's Alcorn State and Florida International. So, that'll be in Legion Field, Birmingham, Alabama. And we all know why that's going to happen because we all know Hurricane Irma's coming this way and there will be no games that happen in Florida. But Alcorn State and Florida International. Now, these are 2 small schools just in general, but I mean, really, you can only go one way with this, and that'd be Florida International, because Alcorn State, I believe, is an FCS team going on the road against Florida International, who sometimes, occasionally, will do good in their games and possibly come out with upsets, but you don't see that too often. But for sure, I'm going to say Florida International wins this over Alcorn State. And we got some pretty good games on tonight. Because, I mean, really, that game's not good, and I'm glad it's not being televised. Because, crap, that game probably wouldn't be good. Even if, they played each other good, that game would not be good. Thank Jesus it was not televised. Now, Oklahoma State at South Alabama. Now for some reason Oklahoma State got knocked down to number 11, which I don't understand that logic because they whooped the crap out of a good Tulsa team. Now Tulsa might have just decreased in talent and they're not so good anymore. But I don't understand the logic of Oklahoma going down. If anything, I think they should be ranked over Florida State. They brought Florida State down to 10. I think that means you should have moved up Oklahoma State rather than moving them down. Because they had a really good performance, and I think they deserve to be ranked higher than 11. I think they deserve to be ranked in the top 10. They had a very, very good performance. When I was expecting an upset from Tulsa, that a possible upset from Tulsa in a close game, Tulsa didn't even hardly put up a fight. I mean, they didn't even put up 30 points. And Oklahoma State almost put up 60. And last year, we remember the Central Michigan game, which they had trouble with, and they ended up losing that game, but apparently they're not the same team that gets upsetted by those smaller schools like Central Michigan. And then South Alabama, they pull off an upset against Mississippi State last year by 1 point. I believe it was on the road. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is they're a Sun Belt school, and Mississippi State wasn't the best last year, but they've improved, and if they played South Alabama, I think they'd win. I just don't think South Alabama will be as good as they used to be. Well, more like as they were last year, which they finished 6-6. I mean, that was just enough to get to a bowl, so they weren't that good. This game should obviously be going home to Oklahoma State, even though it's a road game. But I mean, Oklahoma State we know is way better than South Alabama in every aspect you look at. And now we got Ohio at Purdue. Now that is going to be a really good one, being at Purdue. Because Ohio is a school in the MAC, but they made it to the championship last year. And Purdue is a lower level Power 5 conference team in the Big Ten. So, they're hosting Ohio. Now, if you guys don't know, Purdue has never lost to Ohio in their history. They are 8-0 against them. But we could very well see one because Ohio is a good team, guys. Face it, Ohio is good. They made it to their conference championship last year. And, they almost beat Western Michigan, but I think it was the very last possession. Like, they threw a pick, and they ended up losing 23-29. But I like Ohio. I like their efforts in that championship game, and I think Ohio will remain to be the good team they were last year. But I just don't think it comes here against Purdue. So I'm calling Purdue just because of the history of it and because they get the home advantage, but I really think Ohio is a good team. Now, I don't think this game was canceled yesterday, but I think they just decided to cancel it today because we know hurricanes getting closer, and it's expected to hit the whole state. So basically, any game that takes place in that state or any Florida team that has competition, they're going to be taken out of it. But I would have very well loved to see this game. I mean, Memphis at UCF, I really wouldn't know for sure who wins the game. I mean, Memphis is a very good team. I think they make it to their conference championship at the end of the year with like 9 wins. I think four teams already, no, 5 or 6 different teams in the American Athletic Conference. Like half of that conference has already had their games canceled. One game. So, I mean, that makes it equal. But I really think they need to find they really need to reschedule a date to play these games because there's so many games that are being canceled this week, and I think it'll affect the teams in the long run. So really, I think they need to reschedule these. But if it ever gets rescheduled, I think UCF is going to pull off an upset against Memphis, and UCF probably is going to get to a bowl game. But I hope they reschedule that. And now we're getting to Saturday's matchups. Cincinnati at number 8, Michigan. Now, this is a game that I probably wouldn't watch because I really don't think it's worth watching. And I would hope most people are smart enough to know it's not worth watching. But Cincinnati at Michigan. Michigan did very well against Florida last week. Florida moved down 5 spots for playing the way they did. I think Michigan deserves to be in the top 10, but I definitely think Oklahoma State deserves to be with them rather than below Florida State. I think they're better than Florida State. And I think Michigan's way better than Florida State based off of how Florida State played against freaking Alabama. Now, at the very beginning, like until about halftime, I think you would have said Michigan's going to lose this game. But after halftime, they came back, kicked butt, man. They scored 20 unanswered. And Cincinnati, they have Luke Fickell. But I remember the last time Luke Fickell faced Michigan as a head coach, he lost, and he probably got his butt kicked, but I forgot, because that was like 2011, guys. I could very well look it up for you guys and let you know, but I don't feel like it right now, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just here to predict these games, not tell you about past. But the last time Luke Fickell as a head coach played Michigan was, the Saturday after Thanksgiving back in 2011, let's just say that. That was about over half a decade since he played him as a head coach. But let's just say he didn't do too well, so I'm going to say the same thing for Cincinnati. They don't do too well. Now we got Florida Atlantic at number 9, Wisconsin. Now we know how they did at home against Navy. No, they did not do good at all. Florida Atlantic did not do crap against Navy. In fact, Navy beat them like what? They scored like 40-some points. It was like, I think the final score was like 45-19. I forget. But I know Florida Atlantic didn't even get 20. Now, that was just the first game of the season, and we don't know how good Navy really is until like later in the season. We don't know how good we don't know how good Navy is, and we don't know how good Florida Atlantic is because we haven't seen them play Wisconsin yet. But I can see Florida Atlantic possibly playing them good. But I'm going to say Wisconsin does not cover the spread that a lot of people are thinking it is. They're not going to cover the spread. But, however, Wisconsin still will win it by a big margin is what I think. So, yeah, I'm just straight up, I'm calling Wisconsin here. I really think Wisconsin, if you wanted to put them anywhere, they played a smaller opponent than Oklahoma did. They played a good Tulsa team. I really think Wisconsin and Oklahoma State should switch places. But nah, they're not going to do that because Wisconsin's too great. And then we got number 17, Louisville at North Carolina. Now, Louisville moved down 1 spot for how bad they played against Purdue. But Purdue, I can very well see winning tonight. And number 17, Louisville. Louisville is a good team, guys. No doubt about it. Louisville is a good team, and a lot of people don't see them going to any kind of championship. Now, in the end, I can see Louisville going to like the ACC championship because it doesn't look like that Atlantic division is going to be any good. I mean, the only two teams in that division I really think are going to have a chance in that division are going to be Louisville, Virginia Tech, and if North Carolina's good, I guess them. But I mean, they lost to freaking California, so really, I think the competition is. Well, wait, no. I was saying Coast. I said Atlantic, but I meant Coastal, and I forgot Virginia Tech and Louisville were in two different divisions in that conference. Louisville's in the Atlantic, but I really just don't think the Atlantic will be any good. I mean, the only two teams that compete against Louisville are Florida State, Clemson, and maybe this year NC State if they can come back from that loss against South Carolina. But I think they can, but I don't think they're going to win every game after that. That's not going to happen for sure. They have too tough of a schedule. But of course, remember, Florida State doesn't have DeAndre Francois for the rest of the season, so that might kick them in the butt later on. Not DeAndre Francois. They're going to have a rookie come in, so it may affect how Florida State does this season. And maybe we might have a new. Clemson was there last year. I don't think Clemson will be as good as they were last year, though. I think it'll be between Louisville and Clemson for that ACC championship. Louisville and Clemson is who I'm going to say because DeAndre Francois is out for the whole season. And without him, I don't think they're going to make it far. But definitely calling Louisville for that. Even if it's a close game, Louisville is still coming out on top in that one. And now we got Charlotte at number 19, Kansas State. No need to speak about this. We're just calling Kansas State, okay? I really think they are going to win. They're going to be like 9-3 this year. I'm saying that for sure. They're going to beat Charlotte. Northwestern at Duke. Now, a lot of people don't really like how Duke played. Not Duke. A lot of people don't like how Northwestern played last week. Now, look, Northwestern played kind of bad last week. But Nevada, Nevada kind of looked very good when they played. Nevada might not be the team that most people see them out to be, and Northwestern did end up pulling away by 11. But, a lot of people were disappointed with this. I like how Northwestern came back, because I think Nevada is a decent team. I do not think they are bad at all. They can definitely beat. They are definitely capable of beating a team like Northwestern. And Duke's just getting a lot of recognition because they scored 60 points on an FCS opponent. Come on, Duke scored won 60-7 against what? North Carolina Central. I don't even know who they are. I only watched them play a bowl game against Grambling State and lose. I mean, come on. No recognition for that, man. I'm going to say Northwestern wins this in an upset, but Duke can very well win it. I think Northwestern wins a close one. I think it's very similar to the 2015 upset they got over Stanford, but happens in week 2. So I'm calling Duke in an upset. Now, this should be pretty easy, too. West Virginia is not ranked after that loss to Virginia Tech. But I'm calling West Virginia in a big one. I'm going to call West Virginia winning by I'm going to say 28 points. Now, tell me if they cover that spread or if they don't. Because I think they're going to cover that spread I think they're going to cover a spread of 28. Now, I'm making the spread. I want to see if you guys think they cover or if, East Carolina will win that. But I don't think East Carolina will do that great in this game at all. I mean, they lost to an FCS opponent. Literally, they lost to an FCS opponent like 41-14. Well, I think it was only 34. But I mean, without East Carolina actually trying, I mean, they probably would have whooped the pants off of East Carolina. They got destroyed by an FCS opponent. Now, yes, they are the FCS reigning champions, James Madison University, but East Carolina is not a good team at all. And losing to any FCS team is not good. Didn't look too good on Iowa when they lost to North Dakota State last year. And really, I think North Dakota State deserves to be ranked after a win like that. But apparently they didn't do it because they're FCS and they're so lowly ranked. And now there's Buffalo at Army. Now I kind of question this one a bit. Because if you guys didn't see how they played against Minnesota and their new coach, freaking PJ Fleck is an awesome coach. He is a very, very good coach. He's good at what he does. Minnesota is not a half-bad team at all. In fact, with PJ Fleck, it'll probably make them even better because that one coach they had didn't seem too trustable to get them anywhere. But, Buffalo already knowing PJ Fleck and how he coached Western Michigan, I believe they whooped the pants off Buffalo 45-0 last year. So, I mean, that's very impressive that Buffalo played them close. And I don't think it's that Minnesota's bad at all. No, Minnesota is not bad. They have too much talent and way too good of a coaching staff to be able to lose. No, Minnesota is not bad. I think it's that Buffalo's good. But also, Army, I think, is pretty good too. Now, I'm going to say Army wins this I'm going to say Army wins 48-34. I'm going to say 2 touchdowns. Now, that's not really a whole lot. I think Buffalo has a shot to pull off this win with how well they played Minnesota last week. But I like Army and how they play. And I think Army will beat Navy again this year. So I think I'm going to call Army in this one by 1 or 2 touchdowns. Who knows? Maybe it might be a slimmer game than what I think. Towson at Maryland. We're not even going to talk about this. Maryland's winning. Eastern Kentucky at Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky's got what's his face? Matty Mock from Missouri. Now, Missouri pretty much sucks because they don't have a good quarterback anymore. I mean, Drew Lock's okay, but I mean, the time he's played at Missouri, he has not looked great at all. I would not draft him. If I had to choose him, I would not draft Drew Lock. But if he can get Missouri to a winning record this year, I won't have too much of an issue. Now, I'm sounding like a Missouri Tigers fan here. I'm not a Tigers fan. I am a Buckeye fan. Okay? I'm from Ohio. I'm an Ohio State fan. I am a big fan of my team, guys. But don't get me wrong, I do like the Missouri Tigers as my second favorite in college football. In SEC, I really like to see them play those games. But you see, Missouri, I really just don't like the best, And they suck, too, I mean. But I still root for them when I see them play. But Kentucky's definitely winning this game. I mean, if they can beat Matty Mock with Missouri, they're definitely going to beat them with Eastern Kentucky. And then there is University of Tennessee Martin at Ole Miss. No speaking about this, Ole Miss has that down. Iowa at Iowa State. Now, you guys are probably thinking, whoa, what did you just say? Yes, I am calling Iowa State. I mean, Iowa did play pretty good against Wyoming, but I mean, Wyoming doesn't have the best of defense. They're a more offensive team, but yet they've got barely over 20 points. I mean, Wyoming had a chance the whole game. I don't think there was one point in that game until probably the last 3-4 minutes of the game. They were probably still in it until Iowa got the 21-3 score. It's kind of just like how Alabama played Chattanooga last year. I'm going to say it was kind of like that. But I like Iowa State to win this because I did like how they played. Yes, Northern Iowa is an FCS team, but they are a good FCS team. Northern Iowa is a good FCS team. If I saw them play, I would probably watch them weekly, man. Weekly. Now, most of you probably wouldn't watch them weekly, but Northern Iowa FCS team, they are pretty interesting to see play. Okay, now the weekly thing, that's an exaggeration. But I'm definitely gonna call Iowa State for this one. I think it'll be close though. I don't think they destroy Iowa. Nowhere close to it. But they will beat Iowa for the first time in a while. And it's on ESPN2 tomorrow. Jacksonville State at Georgia Tech. Now, Jacksonville State is a good FCS team. I think they came close to knocking off Auburn one time, if I'm correct. Like a couple of years ago, they played them in overtime, but ended up losing by a final touchdown from Auburn, and then a good defensive stop, or the other way around. I don't know. But anyway, Jacksonville State has been known to almost upset teams. But I'm going to call Georgia Tech in a closer game against them, if you guys are not surprised, or if you are. But I'm calling Georgia Tech, and that's it. So that one, we got Wake Forest at Boston College. Now, great for making me look bad, Boston College. Thanks for winning the game last week on the road. But, however, I'm going to say right now, Boston College is not going to win this game because I think Wake Forest is really good. Wake Forest last year impressed me a lot, and I think they're going to impress me this year too. I think Wake Forest gets their second win of the season on the road against Boston College. Some of you probably are disagreeing with me right now, but I'm going with Wake Forest because I don't like Boston College at all. I don't think they'll be good, but I definitely think Wake Forest will be bowl eligible again. I have no clue what I did. Something's wrong here because, I hit something. Oh, I just went to Boston College schedule. But anyway, yes, I'm going to call Boston College to lose this game. And I didn't really even think game this year. But I'm already wrong about that because they did win. So I can't say they're not going to win because they already did. And then we got Texas State at Colorado. Easy enough, we're calling Colorado. No doubt about it. Texas State, no chance. UAB at Ball State. I did like Ball State's performance last week against Illinois. And I did like UAB, how they played. I forget who they played, but I did like how they played them. UAB is returning after being out for a few years. I think the last time they were playing football was like 2014. And now they're back. They won their first game, and I very well think they're going to win another one on the road against Ball State. Now that might be after how well they played. How well they played Illinois, I think they might be good, but I'm calling UAB just because of luck of returning, and they'll win their first road game back. Now, Fresno State at Alabama, I would say I would not talk about this, but Fresno State, I feel, will actually put up a fight in this, because I'm predicting Fresno State to go 9-3 and possibly make it to their conference championship. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, because I don't know how the Mountain West divides their teams. But I'm just going to tell you guys right now, they finished 9-3. They're going to get to a bowl game is what I'm predicting. That might not happen, and I think they might just put up a fight against Alabama. But in the end, I think no matter what, even if Alabama comes on top winning by like 28 or 7, which I think it will be a big win, but I think it'll kind of slowly become that. I don't think it'll be one of these games where they just get blown out from the start. No, I'm going to say Fresno State puts up a fight for a long time and ends up losing by like 21, 28. Now, you guys are probably thinking, why am I acting so calm about that? Because Fresno State, I don't feel is a bad team at all. They're just playing the number one team in the country. They're playing Alabama. Come on. Alabama has the most strict coach in the country, guys. So they're obviously not gonna win, but I think they might put up a fight. I don't know. For Fresno State, that sounds pretty weird, but they might. Pittsburgh at number 4, Penn State. Now, this is very shocking. This is the highest Penn State's been ranked in forever, guys. Penn State is ranked number 4. Now, I know they had a very good performance against Akron, but I do not think that makes them go up by 2. Akron is not a good team at all. Akron might get lucky to make it to a bowl game every year. Because I remember them playing Wisconsin and they got blown out like 54-0 the same way. I mean, Penn State played no better than Wisconsin did against them. Akron just is not a good team. I don't think this is why Penn State should be at number 4 at all. No. Penn State's at number 4. I want to see them play better competition against teams like Ohio State and Michigan and Wisconsin and teams like that. But, Penn State went up by 2 just for shutting out a team who gets lucky to go to a bowl game. And Pittsburgh, I mean, really, you can't say. I mean, you can criticize Pittsburgh for how they let Youngstown State come back and tie the game. I think they started up like they were up 21-0 at one point. They gave that lead up and slowly Youngstown State just came back, tied the game. But in the end, Pittsburgh did end up winning in overtime, but against an FCS opponent. But remember, that FCS opponent is not bad. Pittsburgh always struggles against those teams, and Penn State is like a rivalry. I do not think Penn State will rout these guys, but I do think Penn State ends up getting their revenge, and they end up winning this game. I'm going to say I don't know. I'm going to say 34-27. I don't know. I think they'll win in a closer fight than what most people think, but I'm calling Penn State to win this game. But not super huge. Delaware at Virginia Tech. We don't even have to talk about this one either. Virginia Tech. Now, this game, TCU is ranked number 23rd at Arkansas. Now, a lot of people are saying TCU's going to get their revenge on Arkansas, and TCU's favored to win by 3. But I think Arkansas, based off of how well they played, if they still have Austin Allen, I think they will beat number 23 TCU. Last year, they had a very good chance to possibly have gotten a good record, but Arkansas will always start out really good, and then they'll just start to decline as the season goes. Hey, I'll say that they'll start out 5-6-1, and then they'll pretty much lose the rest of their games, maybe winning 1 or 2 in that season. In the second half, they'll usually only win maybe 1 or 2 games. But they'll usually win about 6 early on, and they'll maybe win 1 or 2 later on that season. So, since it's early, I'm calling Arkansas for sure. But you never know. TCU might get their revenge, but I just don't think TCU does it. I think Arkansas comes away with a win again. And I think it'll still be a close game. Arkansas, I very well think, will win this game. But just as close as it was last year and not being an overtime game. So, Arkansas. And then there's Tulane at Navy. Easy enough. I'm going to call Navy. I don't like Tulane at all. I only call them to beat Grambling State because they were at home. And Tulane needs to get some kind of win, obviously, so maybe they can get to a bowl game. But I highly doubt they get to a bowl game. I'm calling Navy by 50. No, that's an exaggeration. I'm calling Navy by 21. Indiana, Virginia. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, Indiana's going to win because, they're a good team. They played Ohio State pretty tough. They did end up getting their butts kicked in the end. But I still agree with the statement. Indiana is a good team, and I think they will be bowl eligible for sure. But I'm calling Virginia just because I think they lost a bit of confidence. I think Virginia gained some confidence after getting a good win against William and Mary. Now I didn't like their performance too well. I think the final score was like 35-10. Now, though, I didn't like their performance because that was an FCS opponent at home, and they didn't end up winning by much. I mean, they could have very well won by a lot more, but I'm still calling Virginia in a close one over Indiana. Now, I'm saying a close one because I think Virginia will win this game against Indiana, but I just don't think that they will destroy Indiana. It'll be like a close, maybe 2-3 point kind of game thing, you know. And Indiana might even get a chance in the end to win. Who knows? But I'm calling Virginia there. Villanova at Temple. Now, I really could talk about this one if I wanted to. Villanova, oh, just shut up. They're a basketball team. Yes, they are a basketball team. That's why I'm not going to stick around and talk about them. So I'm just going to call Temple because I like Temple better as a basketball, not football team. I like Temple better as a football team, even without Matt Rule. So, yeah, I'm calling Temple. Savannah State. Nope, we're not even talking about that one. Even though at one point both of these teams were FCS, let's just say no matter where Appalachian State plays FCS or FBS, they are still going to win, no matter what. Now we got Austin Peay at Miami, Ohio. We know Austin Peay didn't win any games last year. They finished 0-11. They kind of fought a little bit against Kentucky last year, but ended up losing 42-13. So I'm calling Miami in a close one. I'm just going to say Miami in a close one because I think Miami will struggle a bit, but then, you know, start to pick up, but very late in the game, like maybe score one final touchdown and win it like 24. I don't know. I'm going to say that's close. Eastern Illinois at Northern Illinois. Now, I really didn't like Northern Illinois' performance too much. I mean, they ended up losing to Boston College. Boston College. Now, Boston College, I'm going to say, definitely is better than Eastern Illinois because they're an FBS team. And Boston College is a Power 5 school. And they're a smaller one, but they ended up beating Northern Illinois. So, respect to that. Northern Illinois is not a super easy team to beat most of the time. But anyway, they ended up beating Northern Illinois. But I'm just calling Northern Illinois to win this game because they're better than Eastern Illinois. And you know, overall they've played better over the years. And Eastern Illinois is just a FBS team. So, FCS. So, they're not going to win. And there you go. NIU wins. Howard at Kent State. Now, oh boy, guys. Howard was predicted to lose the game. The spread for them was 41 points. But they ended up, you know, outbeating that. They were favored to lose by like 41, 45 points, whatever. They were favored to lose by over 40 points. Just get routed. But they ended up scoring more than the spread said they were going to lose by. I mean, that was insane how they ended up playing a close game and ended up beating UNLV. We know UNLV is not a very good team. But what I can tell you guys is that UNLV should be good enough to beat a team like Howard. And for all we know, maybe Howard is just a bit better than what we think. And Kent State is at home. Kent State is not a good team at all. Let's see. I think I'm going to call Howard in an upset, guys. To be honest, I'm calling Howard because I like how they played last week against UNLV. Even though they only won by 3. Definitely, I think UNLV is better than Kent State. So I think Howard might pull off another close one. Or Howard might even destroy them. I don't know. But I doubt that. Howard's on the road. They might just be a good FCS team this year, but I did not see that upset coming. But anyway, I'm calling Howard in another upset over Kent State. Middle Tennessee at Syracuse. Now, this is going to be a good game because I don't think Syracuse is nearly as good as Vanderbilt. Well, maybe they're better. But Middle Tennessee, we know, did not play very well against Vanderbilt. But Middle Tennessee, a lot of people, I think they like Middle Tennessee because they went to Missouri and pulled off an upset against them, which was very cool, in my opinion, because they ended up winning by 6, but Missouri failed on a last-minute drive, which led them to lose by 6. But they ended up winning. But this is at Syracuse anyway, and we all know that Middle Tennessee did go on the road and beat Missouri, but I think Syracuse is just good enough to hold them off. I'm going to say Syracuse wins this by 14. But anyway, I'm going to say they hold off Middle Tennessee and they go 2-0, guys. And now we got Old Dominion at UMass. Now, I think originally I was going to call UMass to win this game, or whoever they played, whoever their second game was. I don't think I was going to call UMass, really, but how they played against Hawaii, I found out they ended up losing by just 3 points at home to Hawaii. Old Dominion last year was 10-2 in the Conference USA. I definitely think Old Dominion is good enough to beat UMass, but I'm going to say it's a closer one just because of the level. Now, this is going to be a tough one for me. Western Michigan at Michigan State. Now, Michigan State last week, they destroyed Bowling Green 35-10. Now, they started out pretty slow because at one point I think Bowling Green was up 3-0 until about halftime when they scored their first touchdown. But from there, Michigan State just kept scoring more and more. And I mean, later on they allowed a touchdown, but they didn't allow too much in this game. So Michigan State did good with that. And then Western Michigan went on the road against the number 4 team in the nation, gave them a tough challenge, and they didn't really lose until the last 3 minutes of the game. What finished the game for USC was a pick 6. What really put them out of a hole, even though it seemed that it was over because it was 31-42. At the time, there was 3.5 minutes. But USC ended up getting a legendary pick 6 that would finish the game and get them the 18-point win. Now, I think Western Michigan should have at least tried to score one more time, like a touchdown, so it would at least make them look a bit good. Maybe a touchdown and an extra point, 38-49. That doesn't look too bad, especially for losing your head coach and maybe a few of your good players. And 38-49 would not make them look bad at all. If USC does really turn out to be a great team, I think Western Michigan, that would have helped them out if they did score a touchdown or tried to score, a couple more. But it wasn't very likely because they were already down by 18 and they would have to score 3 different scores. And they would definitely need an onside kick somewhere. But I did predict early on for Western Michigan to either beat USC and lose to Michigan State, or the other way around, they lose to USC and they beat Michigan State. So I think it's going to be that way because, Western Michigan lost to USC, so I guess they get to 1-1 by beating Michigan State. So good for them. Eastern Michigan at Rutgers. Now I'm really starting to think about this one here, because Rutgers did come very, very close to beating Washington. Now, for the longest time, a lot of people were thinking, is Washington ever going to pull out? And Washington really didn't win the game until about late fourth quarter. Rutgers really wasn't done with Washington until they were up about 27-7. Because that was about 3 touchdowns. So at that point, it was for sure over. But Rutgers did put up a fight. They did not end up succumbing and losing by 50 points. No, they played excellent. I think that game deserved praise, and it probably made Washington drop down to number Well, no, Washington went up in rankings for winning that game, which doesn't make any sense because, Rutgers was a team last year that only won a few games, but yet played Washington so well, but yet they gave Washington an excuse because it was the first game of the season. So I guess that put Washington up. Now, really, you guys are probably about to say, well, there's no reason you should be saying Eastern. No, I'm calling Eastern Michigan. I liked how they've been playing. I liked how good they were last year. I like them this year. I think they pull a close one off against Rutgers, and Rutgers is quite not at their level yet. So Eastern Michigan in an upset against Rutgers. Now, this is very bold. I really don't know if it will happen or not, but I'm just calling that as an upset because I think it'd be cool to see. So now we got San Jose State at Texas. No talking about this game. San Jose State couldn't beat South Florida, so I'm calling Texas. Even though Texas did lose to Maryland, which is a game I really got to talk about. That was one of the best games in week 1, guys. Best game. I mean, I knew that it was probably going to be close in some way because Maryland is a half-decent team, but they might just be really good this year. I think they're either going to be really good this year or it's just that Texas was very bad because, I mean, they look bad. Not only did they have a blocked field goal kick, I think they threw a pick six too. It was kind of like how Michigan did against Florida. And, Texas never did end up pulling away, though. Texas did come back, though. They were down like 14-30, but they did end up coming back and making it a 3-point game. But in the end, from there, it was just back and forth. Texas tried to even it out at a 3-point game every time, but it never did end up finishing that way. Maryland would just keep going up by 10, and they would finish 41-51. So there you go. They ended up winning. And I hope at one point Maryland will be ranked after a win like that. That was very good. They were even on the road against Texas too. That was a good win by Maryland. No talking about this game. Colorado State is very good, and I think they'll beat Abilene Christian. Indiana State at Tennessee. Now, Indiana State, I believe, is FCS, but I believe that they do have a shot against Tennessee. They're not bad, but they're not so good either. And the only reason I'm probably going to call Tennessee is because they're at home, and I really like their efforts against this Georgia State team, Georgia Tech team. I did not want to look at Colorado State, but whatever. But anyway, Tennessee's going to win because they're playing an FCS school and because they're the better team, obviously. So, Tennessee, I think, will win by like 10-17, something like that, but they win. Okay, we're not talking about Gardner-Webb or Wyoming. Central Michigan at Kansas. We know Central Michigan pull off that upset against Oklahoma, and they're at Kansas. I think Central Michigan does have a shot to pull it off. But I've really been liking how Kansas has been playing against these smaller schools. I think Texas will get their second win, and they'll go 2-0. So that's very impressive for Kansas because usually they don't get that. But, of course, they did play 2 small schools to get there. So, yeah. Alabama A&M at Vanderbilt. I really liked how Vanderbilt played last week. And I just remembered Alabama A&M was UAB's opponent. But they ended up losing like 45-7, I think. 38-45-7. But anyway, that's still an ass kicking. So I'm calling Vanderbilt to win this by more than how they beat Middle Tennessee. I'm calling Vanderbilt. And then I'm calling Georgia Southern because I like them better as a team. Louisiana at Tulsa. I'm calling Tulsa, but they might not just be the team they were last year because of, how they played Oklahoma State. I really thought it was going to be a much closer game than 24-59. But, it might have just been a first game error, and Oklahoma State might just be really good. But anyway, I'm going to call Tulsa to win this. I don't know what the score will be, but I'm calling Tulsa. Nebraska at Oregon. Most of you are probably thinking, what is wrong with me? And I'm thinking the same thing as well. I'm calling Nebraska to win this game. Now, yes, you guys are probably thinking, yes, Arkansas State did end up winning. No, Nebraska only won by 7 points. Yes. And they even allowed an onside kick, and Arkansas State, they had to hold Arkansas State off from tying the game. No, I think Arkansas State was going to try and score a touchdown and go for 2. But unfortunately enough, Arkansas State was never able to get that touchdown, and Nebraska finishes off winning the game 36-43. That was a very close game, and it was a scare for Nebraska. If you were a Nebraska fan, that was a scary game. But they did end up pulling it out. I don't think that deserves to be ranked yet. But remember, the Red Wolves are not a bad team at all. And I feel really bad for them because they're not going to get their chance against Miami because that game got canceled because Miami isn't going to make it back in time before they. But if anything, I would really just advise that the players pack up all the stuff they want to bring with them. And, pretty much they're heading out to Arkansas. So, that's a safe place. They should stay. I really think that should be where they stay. It's a trashy place, but I would stay there rather than be in the middle of a hurricane. But I would have really preferred to see this game. That is probably the best game I would see that would get canceled. Now, most of you were probably seeing Miami as going to win that game. But I really did like Arkansas State's efforts. I think Nebraska is a very good team. But I think Arkansas State is just as good. The Red Wolves are a very good team. They pulled an onside kickoff. I think they would have pulled off the upset against Miami if they got to play them. But unfortunately, they're not going to get to play it because it's canceled. And I was actually very mad about it when I heard about it. That's why this Hurricane Irma, I'm not the happiest to hear about it. But anyway, Nebraska wins. Hawaii at UCLA. UCLA came back. They tied Michigan State for the biggest comeback in college football history with 35 points. And late in the third quarter, they were down 10-44. The final score was 45-44. They had to hold off Texas A&M on one last drive to pull it off. It's one of the biggest upsets, one of the biggest comebacks of all time, and it was amazing. We all thought Texas A&M was going to pull away, but somehow, for some reason, it was 17-44. I thought UCLA was going to come back. Now, it was looking very, very scary there on that 4th and 6 when UCLA only got one chance to get it past the marker, but they ended up doing so. And then in just a couple more plays, they ended up getting it in the end zone. And they scored a touchdown. The final score, though, was 45-44. You have to admit, that is one of the best games you have seen in forever. Weber State at California. No talking about that. California. Marshall at NC State. I really don't want to talk about that one either because it's a very smaller game. And NC State's at home, but Marshall did play pretty good. They beat Miami last week, not by much, but they did end up winning. And I respect that they won, but I don't think they beat NC State. I think NC State comes back out of there with a juicy old win, and they get their first win of the season, beating Marshall. Okay, we're not going to talk about this one either. Bowling Green will win this game for sure. I'm going to say that right now. Bowling Green will beat South Dakota. And Alabama State at Troy. Troy last week got beat against Boise State, which Boise State, by the way, is a very good team. And Troy last year, I really liked how they played. I mean, I think at one point they were ranked in the top 25, but they lost it because they lost to Arkansas State, and that's why I really think they're a good team. Because they beat a freaking ranked team, guys. They beat a ranked team on the road. 35-3, they destroyed Troy, but Troy is a good team, and I think they're going to destroy Alabama State. But other than that, Troy will probably not lose another game until they play Arkansas State. And Akron wins their game too as well. And Auburn at number 3, Clemson. So I'd really like to talk about this game. And Auburn, I think, has gotten better since last year. They finished 8-4 last year. This year, I think they'll finish 8-4 as well. But they do better than they did last week. Because guys, they do better than last year. Because I think they might just get an upset. I think they'll beat LSU on the road in an upset, to be honest. And Clemson, I think just won't be as good. But it's early in the season. I think Clemson keeps up. And they're at home. I think they'll win a close game at home against Auburn. Because Auburn, they've improved. Clemson has kind of lost a bit of talent. But, I still think they'll come up on top against Auburn with that home win. And I did like how they played against Kent State. Because they still destroyed them even though they didn't have any good players. They have a few, but not, what you see. Now, Toledo at Nevada, this seems like it will be an actual good game because we saw Nevada play Northwestern last week. Nevada freaking, like I said, they were up 17-7 at like halftime, and then Northwestern came back and ended up pulling away. But I definitely like Nevada's efforts. But Toledo, I think, will be a good team as well, I think they'll win the MAC. And right now, I'm just going to call Toledo in an upset, just to give Toledo a win and to get them higher up. I'm going to give Toledo this win. I think they deserve it, and they need to get this win to help them out. But this is a 7 o'clock game anyway, and then there's UNLV at Idaho. Now, we know UNLV is very disappointing for losing to an FCS school, and Idaho didn't really play anybody, but since Idaho's at home, why not just give them a win? They're in the Sun Belt, get them a good win against the Mountain West team. There you go, Idaho's 2-0. They're moving to FCS. They're moving to the FCS next year, so, try and make it look your best. Try to make it look your best. That's all you can do at this point because it's happening. We're not even talking about this game. Southern Mississippi wins their first game. North Texas at SMU. I really liked how SMU played last week. I think they destroyed who they played. I think they scored like 70-some points. But anyway, I'm going to call SMU. They're 2-0. They're starting out pretty well. South Carolina at Missouri. Now, this is a harder game to determine, I would say. For the fact that Missouri, we know, gave up like 43 points to an FCS opponent, but yet it was kind of like a rivalry, but not really because they haven't played each other in almost 100 years. It's been almost a century since they played each other. But they allowed 43 points, ended up scoring 72. I think it'll be a close game because I think Missouri keeps up and their offense scores a lot of points. But yet South Carolina, I think, does the same thing. But Missouri, I think, will get a few stops. And I think they'll do just good enough to end up winning in the end. And Missouri gets to 2-0. And sorry, South Carolina, you're moving down. You're going to 1-1. Nicholls at Texas A&M. Nicholls, I'm surprised I'm even going to talk about this game because Nicholls did very well against Georgia. Almost pulled off an upset against them last year. But unfortunately for them, they didn't. It was a 2-point game, and they ended up losing 24-26. But I just like Texas A&M. I think they played really good against UCLA. But in the end, they just didn't do as great. Nicholls isn't UCLA. Nicholls is not as good as UCLA. UCLA could be a good team, but I'm going to say they're kind of average. But Nicholls, I'm going to say, has no chance to win this game based off of how Texas A&M started out against UCLA. Oklahoma at Ohio State. Now, you guys are probably going to tell me I'm wrong, but Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, one way or another, I think it was going to beat Ohio State. I thought it would either be last year or this year they would win, and Ohio State would win the other. Ohio State got their win last year. I didn't really think last year about the history of it, because Oklahoma, the history is Oklahoma wins on the road, Ohio State wins on the road. So Ohio State did end up winning on the road, but I think Oklahoma returns the favor, and Oklahoma ends up, I guess, by a few points, like at 10 at most. I'm going to say by a few points is how they win, but they beat Ohio State is what I'm going to say. Ohio State will only move down a little bit in rankings because they played number 5. I think that might move them down to like 6 or 7, depending on how they play. They might only move down to like 4, but we'll just have to find out after this game happens. I'm bringing up my brightness. And no, I'm not ending the video right now. We're still not done. Chattanooga at LSU. Now, I would like to say this is not a game I would talk about, but just because of how well Chattanooga played against Alabama last year, of course, they played really good on defense, but also they took out a lot of players, too. Now, LSU is a good team. They destroyed BYU last week, and based off of how they did against BYU, I think that they will end up prevailing Chattanooga very well. I think Chattanooga might be able to score, but a lot of people will probably see LSU pulling off another shutout, pitching another shutout, but I don't see it completely happening. Now we got another good game, a ranked team versus a ranked team. I think maybe only the second game we saw this week with that. 2 ranked teams playing each other. Now, 15 Georgia played very well against Appalachian State last week. Appalachian State is a very good Sun Belt team. They won the Sun Belt, and Georgia ended up killing them. But, of course, Georgia was at home, and they actually only scored 31 points. So it was relatively close for the kind of school that Appalachian State was. But at the same time, I think they could have done better, Appalachian State. So Georgia did very well on that part. And Notre Dame just straight up killed Temple. It was like 49-16. They won by like 40 points. Yeah, they won by like 40 points, guys. That was insane. I do not even want to see another game like that again because they are super boring. When teams like that just go up by like 40 points, that is a game I wouldn't watch. But just because Notre Dame is at home, they're ranked, and I think they will be a better team this year than what they were. Way better. I think they'll be like 8-4 or something. I don't know. But I'm calling them to win their second game against Georgia. They will be 2-0, and they defeat number 15 Georgia. And that moves them higher up in rankings. Probably up to like, I don't know, 13, depending on how they play Georgia. If they play Georgia crappy, they might only move up to like 17. I don't know. But Louisiana Tech and Mississippi State, that is a very interesting one. Because Louisiana Tech is a very good team when they play at home. Mississippi State is a very good team that scores a lot of points. I'm going to say both of these teams did very well in their first game. And these two teams are very close in distance. I mean, they're right next to each other state-wise. Louisiana Tech is like a foot, and Mississippi State's like a big freaking square glob state. Or whatever I said there. I think I originally said Mississippi State, but I think I'm going to call Louisiana Tech just as an upset, because I think they'll actually do it and win by like 10 points or something, but I'm calling Louisiana Tech in an upset. Now, we already know Washington moved up for a crappy performance against Rutgers. I don't think they deserve to be number 7. I think they should have moved down all the way to like 13 or something, but, you know, I guess they thought Washington deserved to move up for playing crappy against Rutgers. Anyway, they're playing an FCS team. That's a guaranteed win for sure. Now, this is also a good game because we saw how Baylor played Liberty last week, it didn't turn out too well. Because let's just say that was an upset that nobody would have predicted. That was no upset that anyone would predict. Baylor lost to Liberty, who's an FCS team. And that is probably the biggest FCS upset of possibly all time. But of course, Baylor wasn't ranked. I think San Antonio has a chance to pull this off. And it might just be another close game. Crap, you know what? I'm giving San Antonio the win. Technically, even though San Antonio was going to lose last week, they were going to lose to, I think Baylor lost to Liberty. I think they're not going to be good. I think that just indicates right away they're going to be a pretty bad team. I'm calling San Antonio. I believe they were going to lose last week until their game got canceled against Houston, but I definitely thought Houston was going to win. That's probably what was going to happen if it wasn't canceled. So, San Antonio, unfortunately, 0-0 for their cancellation, but fortunately for them, they have a winning record because of it. And now we only got about 10 games on this list. Western Kentucky at Illinois. Everyone's saying Western Kentucky will beat Illinois. I agree with that statement. Illinois is not such a great team. I did not like how they played Ball State, which is also another team in the MAC, which is they're okay. They might be good based off of how they played Illinois, but Illinois is not a good team at all. Western Kentucky's been known to pull off some upsets against some good teams. They're known to play pretty well in their conference. I think they've mainly been the winner of their conference most of the time. But Western Kentucky, I'm going to say they beat Illinois. Move up to 2-0. It might just help out the rankings a little bit. I don't know. A lot of people are saying they cover the spread by about 8 points. And I think Western Kentucky might just do that, but it may be a lot closer. I don't know. All I know is for sure Western Kentucky pulls off that away upset. But it's not really an upset because Western Kentucky's favored, but maybe Illinois might win. I don't know. Rice at UTEP. Now that is a conference game. UTEP is usually a good Conference USA team. Rice just got their asses whooped by Stanford. They were lucky to score a touchdown. I'm calling UTEP immediately. New Mexico State at New Mexico. Easily enough, New Mexico. Even though New Mexico State challenged Arizona State and almost pull off an upset, I'm still calling New Mexico. Now another good game, Stanford at number 6 USC. Now I'm calling Stanford in an upset. Now you guys are probably thinking, why? Well, I mean, Stanford literally blew the pants off of Rice. They blew the pants off of Rice. And USC had trouble beating Western Michigan, who lost literally all of their team to either the NFL or another freaking school. But they lost their coach. They lost good players. I mean, they had trouble beating Western Michigan, ranked as number 4. And I think, yes, they do deserve to fall down to number 6. But I'm going to call Stanford in an upset, and Stanford's going to move up to 2-0. Stanford's a good team. Really, USC played like crap last week, and I believe I originally was going to call USC, but I'm going to call Stanford now because I think they're the better team, and I think they're going to win the Pac-12 in the end. Minnesota, Oregon State. It's at Oregon State, but I think it's easy enough to say Oregon State is crap. They barely beat Portland State last week. Minnesota is going to win this game by like a few points, but Oregon State is favored, but I don't see that happening. Minnesota's going to start out 2-0. Utah at BYU. Now, I did not like BYU's performance at all last week. I have liked how Utah has been playing. They've destroyed their North Dakota opponent, but I think BYU will pull off an upset against Utah, even though it's not really an upset. I'm calling BYU because it's a home game, and I think they need a win. So there you go. Boise State at number 20, Washington State. Boise State got a very, very solid win. A very solid win against a good Troy team last week. And number 20, Washington State struggled against an FCS opponent, only winning by 31. You guys are probably thinking, only? That's a lot of points. I mean, not for an FCS team. FCS teams should be blown away like 50 points in a game, not only 31. It's not a whole lot. But I mean, Boise State, I really think that they're just not going to win this game because Washington State wants to keep their rankings. I think it's a close game and Washington State wins by a few points. That's definitely happening. And now we got Houston at Arizona. Now, I think this might be a tough game for Arizona. Arizona, I think, is much better of a team this year than they were last year. I think in 2015 they played okay, but last year they were like crap. I think they only won like 2 or 3 games. And Houston, they've lost a lot of talent. They lost Tom Herman. They lost Greg Ward Jr. They don't have anybody playing for them anymore, and, you know, they're not really good anymore. And they definitely deserve to be unranked for sure. Arizona, I think, becomes a better team, and they end up pulling off this win against Houston. Arizona starts at 2-0. San Diego State at Arizona State. This is a late game for both teams. Well, no, it's not. It's an 8 p.m. game for both of them. But they're both in the California, Arizona area of the country. I'm calling Arizona State because they're at home, but I think San Diego State will be a good team as well this year. Arizona State starts out 2-0, but struggled a lot against New Mexico State last week, though. Kind of questions. But I think New Mexico State this year compared to like years ago, they must be better. And then all these matches, number 10 Florida State, and these are all ranked opponents you see here too with canceled games. They're all ranked opponents. Unfortunately, we're not going to see any of these games happen because the hurricane's going to affect the whole state of Florida. This video has been way too long, but I'm going to say all the home teams on this side would win this game, but it doesn't matter because they're not playing. So, you know, sorry to say that to you guys, but yeah, sucks. They're not playing, but I would definitely love to see Arkansas State play Miami, but unfortunately that won't happen. But anyway, I'm going to end this video because it's been going on for way too long. There are so many games you have to look at and talk about, man, that it just takes you so long. I bet most of you didn't even watch it because you got bored. But I'm not even going to completely blame you guys because I kind of get bored doing this too with the same repetitive voice. Been doing this for over an hour, and I think predicting for over an hour gets very boring and repetitive. But thank God we're not doing the whole entire thing. We're just doing 1 week, and it's not going to take us 3 or 4 hours to get through the whole thing. So, thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to check out any more content like this, check some playlists. Go to some videos a few months ago. If I feel like it, I'll leave a link for you guys. Sorry I sound very lazy to you guys, but, you know, I really am not in the mood to be doing anything right now. I just wanted to make this video for you guys because I did not do it for you yesterday like I tried to do. But if you guys are watching this video like loyal fans would do, and if you're watching the whole video, you're very loyal, I thank you for doing so. And just thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.